welcome back to Kadence Amplify. We have been live all day and we're only halfway through the day. So if you're still with us, thanks for joining. Don't leave. We're really just having the time. And I'm super excited to bring up our next speaker. Next up, we have Paul Sokol. Just learned how to say his name. And he started selling dime store candy for 25 cents in middle school. After a gauntlet of college combined with direct sales and founding his first company, he dove headfirst into small business automation in the summer of 2008. Since then, he's helped thousands of business owners and people leaders he's helped thousands of business owners and people leaders, written an authoritative book on sales, marketing automation, and personally sold over $500,000 in automation advertising services. So with that, let me bring up Paul. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Hannah. This is super exciting.
Yeah, and on top of all of that, you're also like a rock star or something.
That's correct. Literally, my band is so I work from home, and my band is downstairs right now, packing up all our gear because we got a show in Kingman tonight, and then a show in Ontario, California tomorrow. So it's been nonstop since I woke up this morning. But this is very important, and I'm excited to be here. So
we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Thank you.
Yeah, this is really important because I was looking at the lineup of stuff, and like it's great. It's all really good technical stuff.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what people are doing on your website in the first place, like you're kind of in the dark.
I totally agree. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll hand it over to you. I'll be backstage if you need me, and then I'll just be monitoring questions. We'll plan to ask them at the end, but yeah, stage is yours.
Okay, cool. And then are we sharing my screen? I know I'm sharing my screen. Are you? There we are. Cool. All right. So hello, everybody. And I'm Paul Sokol with Be Pro. If you're going to do anything, you might as well be pro. And I'm going to go ahead today and show you how to set up your website's digital tracking like a pro. So I want you to imagine that you're running a physical store, but you have no idea who walks in, what products they look at, or how many of them make a purchase. You'd be flying blind, right? Well, that's exactly what it's like when your website doesn't have proper digital tracking in place. And so Google Tag Manager, tools like Google Analytics and Metapixel are the security cameras and the cash registers and the traffic counters and all that stuff for your website. They tell you exactly what's happening so you can make smarter decisions and improve your store based on real data. And so that's what we're going to go ahead and talk about today. Real quickly, I want to let you know why you should lean in. Who am I? Why should you care in the first place? Basically, I've been using WordPress since 2008 myself. But way back when I was in college, I got a master's in electrical engineering in 2010 from UCF. Go Knights. I've been advertising since 2015, which does require, if you're going to do it properly anyway, to have your tracking in place so that way you can know what people are doing on your website. And at this point, I've helped thousands of small businesses over the course of my career. Through presentations like this and personal private consultations and clients and all sorts of stuff here. So I definitely know what I'm talking about. People come to me for this kind of stuff. So hopefully you're going to lean in. And if that wasn't exciting enough, I've got a special gift for you at the end. I'm going to give you 2 HTML snippets that you can use inside your Google Tag Manager to create a world-class branding experience for your website. So today's agenda is pretty straightforward. First of all, we're going to talk about securing Google Tag Manager in the first place. I'm going to explain what all these are as we go through it. And then I'm going to show you how to configure Google Analytics, your Metapixel, and your Google Ads tag. Even if you're not using Facebook or you're not using Google Ads, at a bare minimum, you definitely want to be using Google Analytics. And then I'm going to show you how to install this using Google's SiteKit plugin. Because this is WordPress, this is a WordPress conference, I wanted to go ahead and show you the best proper way to do that. And then at the very end, we're going to talk about conversion tracking. Now, usually when I'm teaching this kind of stuff, I'll only go through the first 2 things because it's kind of technical, it's a little bit heady, but I know that we've got a little more technical audience than usual here. So we're going to go ahead and go through this. But that being said, I'm going to kind of move pretty quickly. So I'm not going to actually hop into the software today. I've got a bunch of screenshots. At the end of this presentation, I will give you a chance to download the slides as well for future reference. So you can follow along with me, though, if you want. I'm going to try and give you nice and easy instructions to follow. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop right into it. So let's create a baseline context. What is digital tracking in the first place? Plain English, these are the tags / pixels, that's kind of an interchangeable term, that are used to measure the various activities and behaviors on your websites. That's it. Real simple. And to make your life easier, I recommend that you use a tag manager. You can, of course, install the Google Analytics pixel and the Facebook pixel and all that kind of stuff individually, but you have to touch your website every time. There's actually a lot of benefits to using a tag manager. So one of the big benefits, and for this audience, maybe not so much because we are technical, but like for a lot of my clients, this is a huge benefit. It's a one and done install. So you install it on your website once, and then you can adjust any digital tracking from within the tag manager itself. You don't have to touch your website. You don't need to go and have to bug your web guy. Again, a lot of people on this are their own web people, so that's not that much of a benefit here. But the biggest benefit, and I know that people on this will be able to appreciate this probably more than most, is that with the tag manager, it controls what's loading. It balances out the page load, because we know that site speeds are the most important thing these days. We have no attention span anymore, so if that website doesn't load instantly, people are out. So with the tag manager, it lets the page content load first, then it fires off all of the tracking codes, compared to if you manually install like the Facebook pixel and Google Analytics, that's just going to load in order that it's at in your code. And so that can actually slow down your site, especially as you do more and more tracking here. The other benefit for people that are looking to take it to that next level is it's a lot easier to do conversion tracking as well. As you're going to see, we're not having to put individual code snippets on certain pages. We basically just say, listen, if somebody hits like this page or does this activity on your website, go ahead and fire a conversion. So that's hopefully sold you on why using a tag manager is beneficial. And there's many of them out there. I recommend using Google Tag Manager because it's free, which is really cool. So if you want to go ahead and follow along, this is where we're gonna start to do the actual in the weeds kind of thing. So first, I'm going to give an overview of what we're going to do for each of these pieces, and then we're actually going to go ahead and do it. So first thing we're going to do, obviously, make sure you're logged into Google. You know, gotta do that. If you don't already have the Google Tag Manager account, you're going to create the account itself, and then you're going to go ahead and create the container for the domain. And we'll explain what all of this stuff means here. It's and it's like this with most Google things, where you create the account and then you create the property or the container or whatnot. So it's technically a tag container, so that's what they call it. So first thing you're going to want to do is go to tagmanager.google.com. And if you're not already, you're going to need to go ahead and sign in. Make sure you're signing into the same Google account for all of the things that you're doing, at least that are on Google here. So sign into the same Google account for Tag Manager. That's the same account you're going to sign into Google Analytics. It's the same account you're going to sign in to Google Ads. Once you're in the upper right, if you need to create an account, I'm going to show you how to do that. If you already have an account, chill for like 2 minutes. Actually, not even 2 minutes here, but you'll go ahead and click Create Account right there. You're going to go ahead and give the account itself a name, and you can choose whether or not you want to share data with Google. I mean, I don't, personal choice, whatever. And then once you've created the account, then you're going to create the container. So I would recommend creating a container per domain. So, keepchildrenrockin.org, that's my charity. It's a nonprofit. We provide music equipment repairs and donations for youth music programs. And so that's what we're going to be using as an example throughout the course of this presentation here. For pretty much every .com or every domain you have, I recommend creating a container. You may or may not want to create a different container if you're using subdomains. So like if you have a membership site, members.keepchildrenrockin.org, which we don't have, but like let's say I had a separate WordPress install and I'm using like LearnDash and Memberium and these kinds of things. Maybe I do want to have a separate container, but at a bare minimum, I would recommend having one per domain. So give the container a name. I would name it the domain just to keep it very simple here. And we're going to be using this for the web. As you'll notice, there's other types of containers if you're doing any app development or things like that. You can also do the same kind of digital tracking as well, but this is all focused on websites. So go ahead and create your container, and That's it. So as you're doing this, you'll have to accept the terms. There's a GDPR, and you can ignore the code that shows up for now. When you go create the account, it'll bring up a code window. You can just X that out because we're not going to go ahead and use it because we're actually going to use SiteKit to do the install. So that's why we don't need the code here. So once you're into Google Tag Manager, I'm going to give you a quick crash course on what you're looking at. This is the left menu. This is the left navigation over here. So you'll navigate on the left, and then all the fun stuff happens on the right. Basically, your tracking is the tag plus the trigger. So what is the pixel? What causes it to fire? Those two things are not mutually exclusive. You have control over either of them. That's another benefit of using Tag Manager. We're not going to talk about it today, but you can use variables to streamline stuff, and especially as you use more tracking and get more advanced. For example, if you know what your cost per lead is, you could create a variable for that, and then now when you're sending lead conversion events over, you simply just use the variable of whatever your cost per lead is rather than hard coding it. I would highly recommend that you use folders to stay organized, and templates actually speed up the implementation, and we're going to be using a template for Facebook here. They make it super easy, and most of this stuff is copy and paste simple here. So at this point, we've created our Google Tag Manager account, and we've created our container, and now we're ready to start installing some tags. So first thing we're going to do is Google Analytics. And so again, I'm going to give an overview of exactly what we're about to do, and then we're going to go ahead and do it. So obviously, make sure you're logged into Google. And similar to Tag Manager, we'll go ahead and create the account itself if it doesn't already exist, and then create the property for the domain. And then we're going to create a data stream for the domain. And I'm going to show you all this. This is just an overview. And then we're going to install that stream ID into Tag Manager. As you go through this, you're going to see it's really mostly about knowing where to go, and then we're just copying and pasting stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of give you the game guide, the cheat sheet for where to go. So let's go ahead and do this. So same thing, business as usual. Go to analytics.google.com. In the upper right, you may need to click sign in. If you don't already have an account created, I'm going to show you how to quickly create it. If you do, hang out for just a moment. Basically, you'll create the account, give it a name. You can choose whether you want to share the data. It's a 4-step account creation piece. So first thing is give the account a name, hit next, and now you'll go ahead and be guided through creating a property. So give the property a name, just like we gave the container a name, set your time zone and your currency. On the third page, you're going to briefly describe your business and the size of the business. And then on the fourth page, I would recommend using the baseline reports here. This means that you can create any of those 4 reports above when you need them. So I recommend just using the baseline reports because otherwise it's going to pre-configure certain reports for you that you may or may not want. But then you go ahead and click create, and now not only will you have created the account, you'll also have created the property for your website. So then it's going to, and now we've created the account, we've created the property, and now we're creating the data stream for that property. So we're going to be setting up a web stream. So this is where you actually need to put the actual URL of the website that you're using, and then you give it a plain English name. And then when you go ahead and create the stream, it's going to go ahead and spit out a measurement ID. Now, if you already have a Google Analytics account, to get this measurement ID when you're logged in, you're going to go ahead and hit the admin gear in the bottom left and go to the data streams that shows up. And then when you click into the web stream, it's going to give you these details. This is the same stream. This is the same screenshot, or this is the same view that gets spit out when you create it from scratch here. What's important to know is that for our purposes, it's the measurement ID. This is what we're going to use. This is what we're going to go ahead and copy and paste into Tag Manager, right? So we had to go through a handful of click steps just to get here, but now we have the measurement ID. So now we can actually go ahead and install this into Google Tag Manager. So copy that, and then now go to back into Tag Manager here. Go ahead and click the tag section on the left. Likely it'll look like this where you don't have any tags. So in the upper right, you'll go ahead and click to add a new tag here. I would always recommend getting in the habit of naming and putting, giving your tags proper names and putting them in folders right from the get-go. So just build that habit. The very first thing you do is go ahead and give it a name. I'd recommend calling it Google Analytics. You can go ahead and create a folder for it. I usually just call it marketing, and then go ahead and create the folder. And so as I mentioned earlier, there's the tag and there's the trigger that fires it, right? And so we have to configure both of those. So go ahead and click anywhere in the tag configuration section, and you're going to, and then it'll bring up a little sliding window of what type of tag are we going to set up. And so because it's a Google product, we've got Google Analytics in here, so select that. And then as far as which Google Analytics, you're going to do the Google tag here. Now, notice there's the event underneath that. That's what we're going to use when we're starting to talk about conversion tracking later in the presentation here. So select Google tag, and then just paste in your tag ID. And that's it. It's that simple. That's how you configure the tag for it. And then at the bottom under the triggers, same thing. Go ahead and select, click anywhere to bring up the list of triggers. And we want this to fire on all pages. Google Tag Manager gives you these kinds of triggers out of the box. And so just select the all pages trigger and hit add. And then it's going to look something like this. So plain English, especially if this is brand new for you, this probably seems like a whirlwind and it's like drinking from a fire hose. And I've only got an hour. So, hopefully you're going to get the slides and everything after the fact. But here's the plain English of it. Whenever any page on your website loads, fire this Google Analytics page view event to this ID. That's the plain English of what we did. And we're basically going to go ahead and do this for Facebook and for Google Ads here, right? So all digital tracking is done this way. You configure the tag, you configure what causes that tag to fire, and that's it. So go ahead and hit save, and we've now configured Google Analytics. So now we're going to continue on with our agenda, and we're going to look at the Facebook pixel, or it's Meta's data set. They actually they didn't get rid of pixels, but a pixel was too almost prescriptive. It's actually a data set now. So I guess be aware that the Meta pixel is now part of just a general data set. So here's the overview of what we're about to go ahead and do. So log into Meta. If you haven't created a business portfolio already, I'll show you how to quickly create one. If you don't have a data set created already, I'll show you how to create that. And then you're going to install a pixel ID into Google Tag Manager. And just like we did with Google Analytics, it's basically a copy and paste job. Okay, so let's go ahead, and these are the steps that we're about to go through. So first thing you want to do is go to business.facebook.com. If you've never been to it, this is the business side of the consumer www.facebook.com. So the subdomain literally is business. So business.facebook.com, log in if you need to. And if you've not created a business portfolio, you'll quickly go ahead and give it a name, put your business contact information in there. This can be different than your actual Facebook account. And then when you hit next, it's going to ask you how you're going to use this. And they're changing this all the time, by the way, but these are like the main things. And then you go ahead and hit submit. And if you already have a business portfolio, this is going to be this menu on the left. At the very bottom, you have the hamburger menu, and that shows absolutely everything. And in the advertising section, we're going to go to the events manager here. Now, as I mentioned earlier, pixels are now considered data sets, and this allows for that cross-platform measurement. So if you did have a website and you did have an app, and you were also tracking offline conversions or like physical store visits, it would all happen in one, which technically you could do that before with the pixel, but a pixel is only on a website, right? So they expanded it to be a lot more accurate here. So if you already have a business portfolio, when you go to the home page, there'll be that menu on the left. Go here to the hamburger menu, go to the advertise section, go to events manager. Now you might already have a pixel here, so go click on the data sources and see if there's something there. If there is, cool. You don't need to create a new one. If not, you'll go ahead and click on the plus sign to connect new data sources. And we're going to say that this is for the web. So if you remember, we did something very similar when we were setting up the tag manager container. Where is this web? Is it for an app? Da, da, da. So Same kind of distinction here. This is going to be tracking web data. And then when you hit next, you're going to go ahead and give it a name and then go ahead and create it. And I want to say that when you hit create, there's an optional step now that says, what's your URL? Let's see if you're good to go. You can just skip that. That's totally optional. So then you'll see your pixel data information there. Just all you have to do is go to the settings at the top, and there's your data set ID. So again, just like we did with Google Analytics, there's a handful of click steps to go, and then you just need the ID. That's it. So go to the settings, click on that data set ID, and that'll copy it to your dashboard. And now we can go ahead and install this into Google Tag Manager. So to make this easy, rather than having to copy and paste raw code, we're going to actually use a template. So here we are back in Google Tag Manager. You're going to go to the templates section on the bottom left menu there. And in the top section where there's the tag templates, go ahead and search for the gallery and search for Facebook. Now, it's very, I want to belabor the point that when you are using tag templates, whether it's for Facebook or LinkedIn or something like that, make sure you're using the official by that company's tag template. So you can see this is the Facebook pixel by the verified Facebook archive. GitHub is where this stuff is hosted. That's what we want. You would not want to use Facebook Pixel by Effectix, or you would not want to use Facebook Cappy Tag by Peaks and Pies, because we have no idea what those companies are. I'm sure there's legitimate reasons for it, but you're installing code on your website, and so you always want to use the template that's provided by the actual provider here. The other thing that's cool about the template is if the Facebook pixel code ever changed, they'll just push an update to the template, and then you can just just like a plugin, update the template, publish the changes, that kind of thing. So make sure if you're ever using templates, use the official one. So you'll select Facebook pixel. It'll bring up all the info. You can click the add to workspace button, and then it's going to give you a double check. Hey, are you sure you want to do this? This is going to inject scripts onto your website, all this kind of stuff. Yes, we know that. Go ahead and click add, and that'll add the template into your website. So now go back and click on the tag section on the left. Go ahead and add a new tag. Very first thing that you do is name the thing. So I usually call this Facebook base pixel. We already have our marketing folder created, so go ahead and throw it in your marketing folder. And then this is business as usual. What's the tracking? Where does it fire? We know that it's going to fire on every single page, right? Because we just want to do that base tracking. So go ahead and click on tag configuration, and it'll bring up that window on the left. And if you scroll down a little bit under the custom section, there's the Facebook pixel template that you just installed. I want to point out there's the custom HTML tag there. Whenever you're doing anything that doesn't have a template or whatnot, or if you have to manually install a script, you would use the custom HTML. And I'm going to give you 2 bonus scripts at the end of this presentation that you can use. You're going to use that custom HTML piece there. So select the Facebook pixel, paste in the pixel ID, and you can see at the bottom, by default, it's doing the standard page view event. Okay. So again, I know we've been running around to a bunch of places, but literally we got the pixel ID, we made a tag and pasted in the pixel ID. That's it. And then go ahead and configure a trigger it for all pages, and there you go. That's it. So it'll look something like this, tags configured for this guy, and then all pages will be at the bottom. Go ahead and save it. So we've been running around, clicking, going to various pages, and moving very fast. When you know how to do this stuff, it shouldn't take you more than maybe about 5 or so minutes to install an analytics tag, to install a meta pixel. Now, getting the access to even get to that point, that can sometimes be a nightmare. But at this point, what have we actually done so far? I just want to underscore this. What have we done? We've established a container for Tag Manager. We grabbed the Google Analytics ID and we pasted it into a tag in Tag Manager and set it to fire on all pages. We grabbed the Facebook dataset ID, pasted it into, we downloaded the Facebook template, but then pasted that ID into Tag Manager and set fire on all pages. That's literally all that we've done so far. Okay, so now one more to go. I'm going to show you how to do this with Google Ads as well. So here's the overview of exactly what we're going to do. No surprise here. First thing you're going to do is log into Google Ads. If we need to create an account, I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to show you where to locate the Google tag. And this is a different Google tag than we use for analytics. So Google Analytics and Google Ads have two separate tracking tags here. So we're going to install that into Tag Manager just like we did. It's a simple copy and paste. But because we're using two different products with two different tags, there's also a required conversion linker that we're going to install into Tag Manager here. And it's almost like an adapter socket, if you think that's the easiest way it can do it. So it's just like a simple adapter, and it just makes sure that the data between Google Analytics and Google Ads is clean and it's not stepping on each other's toes. So that's what we're about to do. So go to ads.google.com and go ahead and sign in the upper right if you need to. If you've not created an account, I'm going to show you how to create an account without launching a campaign. Google's very nefarious, and if you're not paying attention, they'll make you think that you can't create an account until you actually launch a campaign. That's not true. It's patently untrue. So if you need to create an account, if you don't have one already, you'll give like the account a name, something like that, and then it's going to take you to a screen that looks like this. What's your main advertising goal, right? This makes it look like you're supposed to go through, and if you keep hitting next, it's going to keep stepping you through how to create an ad campaign. At the very bottom, there's an innocuous little link that says not seeing your goal here, go view more goal types. When you click on that, it's going to take you to a similar looking page that's a little more technical that says, okay, well, what specific conversions are you looking for? And if you were to select one and keep going through next, it's going to step you through creating a campaign. Again, at the very bottom, there's a very innocuous. Are you not ready? Go ahead and set up an account only. And so when you click on that, I think you have to confirm like your time zone and your currency, and then that's how you create a Google Ads account without actually having to run a Google Ads campaign. Now, why would you want to do this? Like if you're not advertising, who cares? Why do you want the Google Ads tag? Why do you want the Facebook pixel? I didn't say this already, but you want to be able to remarket to people that have visited your website. The only way for that to happen is that you're tracking their activity here. So get your Facebook pixel on the website as soon as possible. Get your Google Ads pixel on the website as soon as possible. Get your TikTok pixel if you're using TikTok as soon as possible. Any platform that you have a presence on, put the pixel on your site, because you never know when you're going to want to run ads. And it's just like, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. If I want shade now, I should have planted a tree 20 years ago. So this is why you want to go ahead and do this. Just get that pixel on there, start collecting the data, and that way when you're ready, if you want to do remarketing, you've been building an audience. You're not starting from scratch. So go ahead and create the Google Ads account. And so once you're in the main interface here, on the left, you're going to go to the Tools section and then go to the Audience Manager. And this is where to grab the tag ID. So just like we grab the Analytics ID and the Data Set ID, this is how you grab the Google Ads tag ID. So go to Tools, go to the Audience Manager, and then you're going to want to select your data sources at the top. Depending on how big your screen is, you may need to click that little arrow to the right to like scroll over on the tabs. But go ahead and click on your data sources. And then you're going to see at the very top, there's Google Ads tag. So go ahead and click on Set Up Tag. You're going to leave it at the default option where we're only collecting general data. Hit Save and Continue, and then it's going to say, great, how do you want to install your tag? Well, we're going to use Google Tag Manager. So when you go ahead and click on that, it's going to go ahead and spit out your conversion ID. And guess what we're going to do with this, folks? That's right. We're going to go ahead and copy and paste that into a new tag in Tag Manager and have it fire on all pages. So again, there's a handful of click steps, but literally at the end of the day, we just need to get this ID. It's that simple. So go back into Tag Manager, click Tags on the left, and then go ahead and add a new tag. Call this Google Ads Remarketing, throw it in your marketing folder. And then when you go to configure the tag, you're going to go to the Google Ads section, and then you're going to do Google. And I apologize, my cat is losing his mind. So go ahead and click on Google Ads Remarketing here. You'll notice that there's a couple other different kind of conversion trackings here. For today, we're just focusing on the Google Ads Remarketing. Go ahead and select that, paste in your conversion ID there, and then go ahead and configure a trigger to fire on all pages, business as usual, and there you go. It's going to look something like this. So again, plain English, whenever anybody visits your website, go fire the Google Ads Remarketing tag, okay? But there's this little warning, conversion linker is missing. Well, Google's here to try and help you out here. So go ahead and save this tag. Go ahead and create a new tag. Call it Google Conversion Linker. Throw it in your marketing folder. And when you configure the tag, right there in the main list of tags, there is the conversion linker here. Now, what's cool about this, there's literally nothing to set up. There is nothing to configure at all. This just, if you're using more than one Google product, put this linker in here, and that way it keeps all the data clean. Make sure that you are having this fire on all pages, and that's it. So now your tag manager should look something like this. And again, the plain English of it, on all pages of your website, fire the Facebook pixel, the Google Ads Remarketing, and Google Analytics, and make sure that Conversion Linker is keeping the data clean between the two data things. That's how to set up your base digital tracking. And again, if you know how to do this, as you can imagine, as long as you've got the necessary access, maybe this will take you 5-10 minutes, because you're just getting to an ID, pasting it in there. We're not setting up any fancy triggers, so it's very easy to do. So just like a page or a post on WordPress, you have to publish it. It's not just live by itself. And so when you hit the submit button in the upper right, that'll go ahead and lock in your changes. Now, you do not have to give the version a name or a description. If you just hit publish, it'll ask you, hey, are you sure you want to go ahead and do that? But any button that you click on that next page, it'll still publish it for you. I recommend giving it a version name, just especially if you're, as you use this more, if you're doing more conversion tracking and things like that, being clear about like when you're adding different things, because you can always roll back versions if you need it, which is super helpful. So go ahead and hit publish, and now you've done your basic initial Google Tag Manager setup, and it's ready to go on your website. So looping back to our agenda, we've gone through these first two things, and we went through it pretty quickly. So again, you're going to be able to get the slides at the end, so you can go ahead and follow along here. But this is all that we've done here. We got Tag Manager. We found our Analytics ID, put it in a Tag Manager. Found our Pixel ID, put in a Tag Manager. Found our Google Ads Tag Manager. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you how to actually install it on the website, because it's, we've built this thing. It's not on your site yet. And then we'll look at conversion tracking at the end, and hopefully we'll have some time for Q&A. I think I'm making some good time here. Got about 20 more slides, and we're only about 30 minutes into it. So, and Hannah's not yelling at me in the chat, so hopefully everything's going really good. All right, so how do you install Tag Manager onto your website? Now, if you're using WordPress, I would recommend using SiteKit, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But in general, if you're not using WordPress, or if you're using something like, I don't know, like a ClickFunnels, or like a Wix, or if you have like a CRM and you can put tracking scripts on it, all you need to do is install the header code, and then there's a no script body code version of it. So when you're looking at Tag Manager, if you go ahead and click on the Tag Manager ID, it's going to bring up the header and the body code. Install the first one in the header, install the second one somewhere in the body, and that's how you've installed Tag Manager. So this is good to know, because again, if you're using like a CRM or some other tool that's not WordPress, this is going to be the way that you have to do it. So that's how you do it manually. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it with SiteKit. Now, there is a prerequisite to use Google SiteKit. You need to verify that you own the website first. You got to prove to Google that you've got the rights to do this. This is done by adding a verification record into your DNS, and this would be done through Search Console. So we haven't talked about Search Console yet. It's another Google tool, very handy, very awesome, and This gives you information about what people are searching for to get to your site and where you're showing up in the results and things like that. And of course, to do that, you have to prove that you've got the rights to this data. So you have to actually search for Search Console. If you go to search.google.com, it's just going to take you to Google. I don't know why, but you have to actually search for Search Console. The first result should always be Search Console tool, Google Search Console tools, right? On the home page, go ahead and hit Start Now, and then in the upper left, you're going to go ahead and add a property. Or if you've already set it up, you'll see your website there. So go ahead and add a property. Type in the full domain here, and then when you hit continue, it's going to go ahead and spit out. There's a couple different ways to verify. I would recommend just using a simple text record in your DNS. If you need help configuring your DNS, that's definitely beyond the scope of what we're talking about here today. But if you know anything about DNS, a text record is very simple, very easy to do. So copy that site verification code, throw it into your DNS, and then go ahead and hit verify. And it does take a little bit to propagate here, but it should be pretty quick though. That's the other thing too. So like if you've put this text record in and like it's like the next morning and it's still not verifying, like something is wrong, because it should be pretty quick. And when you do, you'll get a confirmation here. I guess I thought I had a screenshot of the like, hey, here's what it looks like. But I guess not. But yeah, you'll hit verify, it'll check for it, and then as long as it sees that text record on your domain in your DNS, Google's like, all right, cool, this person has authority to do this. So that's the prerequisite for using Google SiteKit. And if you don't do this, it'll make you do it anyway. You'll see what I mean in a moment. So now we can actually configure the Google SiteKit plugin. So now this is going to be a little more familiar for our WordPress folks here. So go to your plugins, go to add a new plugin, search for SiteKit by Google. Just like we were talking about with the templates, make sure that you're using the official, proper, actually by Google plugin. So go ahead and click install. And then, of course, with any plugin, you'll have to activate it too once you've done that. And then it'll show up at the very top of the WordPress menu for the most part. Go to your dashboard, and it's the very first. And if it's the very first time you've done it, there's the little setup wizard here. So one thing that I want to point out is that you do not want to set up SiteKit with Google Analytics as part of your setup, because we've already set Google Analytics up as part of Tag Manager. Okay, and so that's a little gotcha here. So setting up SiteKit, you'll hit the green sign in with Google button. You'll standard OAuth kind of thing. You continue. Yes, here's the permission we want. Go ahead and hit continue. And then you're going to verify site ownership. Well, that's what we did with Search Console. So if you've done the prerequisite, you're going to hit verify, and it's going to be great. You did it. If you didn't, you're going to have to go through all that DNS stuff that I just showed you. Might as well allow metrics. It's a three-step setup. Turn the metrics on. Again, we've already set up Search Console here, and there you go. You are set up with. So now we've set up SiteKit, but now we need to connect SiteKit to Tag Manager. Okay, because by default that's not necessarily the case. So go to your settings, and then go to Connect More Services, and there's the Setup Tag Manager here. Click that, and it'll be a similar thing that we saw. What tag manager do you want to connect it to, so forth and so on, and then eventually you'll have your services connected. And that is how we configure SiteKit and connect it to Tag Manager. So that way we're doing all our tracking and all that jazz in Tag Manager, and then we're using the official Google SiteKit. So how do we feel? Are we down the rabbit hole far enough yet? We entered the twilight zone here. I know this can be a lot if it's our very first time doing it. So just as a quick overview, to set up Google SiteKit, first you got to verify ownership of your DNS, install and activate the SiteKit plugin, go through the setup process, but don't connect Analytics, and then connect Google Tag Manager. That's what we just did. Okay, so now the last part of this, we're going to talk about conversion tracking with Tag Manager here. This is really the actual value behind Tag Manager as far as I'm concerned. installing analytics or the Facebook pixel, you can just do that, put the code in the header, big whoop. But when you want to take it to the next level, like I do advertising all the time, like I need to be able to track when a lead comes in, or when a purchase happens, or when someone's initiating checkout. This is really where Tag Manager shines, and hopefully you're going to see that and understand how easy it is. So to do this, you would first set up a trigger for whatever the conversion event or behavior is, and then you would use that trigger to fire the appropriate tag or tags with whatever the conversion data is. And then I would always recommend that you test that you've set it up correctly using the preview function. I do this all the time, and I always test using the preview function because there's just so many nuances to it. It's very easy to just not have it configured correctly. So we're going to use a real life example. And I guess I forgot to turn the animation on this one, but basically we offer a free customer profile tool as a lead magnet. And this is what it looks like on the blog post on our website. So there's the post, and then they can pop in their info, email me a copy, right? When you hit submit on that form, that takes you to the thank you page that's in our CRM. We use Keep, formerly known as Infusionsoft. And the URL that you see there, the whole ea169.app/blah, blah, 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 that's what we're going to use as our trigger. We know if somebody hits that page, they absolutely requested that worksheet, and we want to go ahead and fire a conversion event that we got a lead. Okay, so that's the example that we're going to use here. So inside Google Tag Manager, we first want to go ahead and configure the trigger. So you'd go to triggers on the left, you'd go add a new trigger, and it looks similar to how we set tags up. You'll give it a name, throw it in a folder here. And there's many trigger types, as you'll see, but the easiest one to do is a page view trigger. And so you'd set it for a page view trigger and say it's only some page views, and it's only when the page URL contains, that success piece here. One thing I want to point out is just be mindful that you understand how the URL works. There's like cookie IDs and stuff like there. I only need the ID that's after the success. Everything after that is, this tells us like what the contact ID is and like the specific event ID and whatnot. So this is also why I recommend previewing it, because it's very easy to have like, the wrong part of the URL in here. But configure that. And now we've configured the trigger for that. Now we're going to go ahead and configure, in this case, we're going to do a Google For event. We're going to configure a tag to use that. So we go ahead and create it, and the tag type, in this case it's Google Analytics, but an event, and then it's the same measurement ID that we used before. So I was talking about variables earlier, right? If you're going to do a lot of this stuff, you may just want to go ahead and create it as the measurement ID as a variable, so as you're doing these things, you don't have to copy and paste it every single time. You configure the event name. In this case, the event is sign up. And you can also send parameters over with this. In this case, I'm sending over a method called lead customer profile. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because the documentation tells me to do this. So you're going to become very familiar, the more you do this, with the pixel tag tracking documentation here. So like when I hover over the little information bubble and I click on learn more and I look at the sign up event, the documentation is telling me, listen, I can send over a parameter called method. It's actually not required, but it's a string type. And this seeds the data even further. Okay, and it even gives an example of like, hey, here's how you would do this with code. But we're using Google Tag Manager to make our life easier. And so that's why I've sent over a method with that lead customer profile value. And from there, we configure the trigger for that particular tag. So we say, okay, cool. This is not going to fire on every page. Obviously, it's only a sign up if they hit that thank you page. So now this is where we say, okay, cool. Fire this lead customer profile sign up event only when they have that page view of the customer profile opt-in. Okay, so this is the, and it's very easy. And that's how we do conversion stuff. And then similarly, we can use the exact same trigger for a Facebook event. So we go ahead and create a tag using the Facebook pixel template, same pixel ID, and now for the event that we're sending over, we're not just sending over the standard page view, we're sending over a lead event. And in this case, I'm sending over the properties of the value of what that lead is and the currency. Why am I doing that? Because in the documentation, on the Facebook pixel documentation, it tells me, listen, for the lead event, you must send over a currency, you must send over a value. Okay, so this is also why previewing the stuff and making sure it works is very important here. And then we would use the same trigger when they hit that customer profile. Okay, so before we publish this, again, use the preview function, make sure everything is configured correctly here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the preview, and I'm going to go ahead and put in the website of the blog, and I hit connect. It opens up the site in a new window, and then this is it's the Google Tag Assistant, tagassistant.google.com lets you debug this stuff. So we can see that, okay, cool. On this page view for the blog, we can see that the tag that was fired, we had the Facebook pixel fired, and there's a bunch of other ones here, but we can see what tags fired as well as what tags did not fire. I go ahead and fill out the form on that blog post. I get to the thank you page, and then cool, we can see that the next page that loads in this session, indeed, the customer profile, Facebook lead tag fired, as well as the Google Analytics event fired. That's what I want. So now I can confidently publish that version of the, I can publish Tag Manager knowing that, cool, next time somebody opts in, it's going to go fire lead events to Facebook as well as Google Analytics. And this data is going to show up in Google Analytics here. So in the test that I did for this presentation to develop these screenshots, I'm looking in Google Analytics, I'm looking at the events, I'm looking specifically at the sign up event, and you can see, there you go, the parameter of method, which it's expecting lead customer profile. That's where it's coming from. So this is certainly an advanced topic. I'm not going to try and say that it's not, but I know we're a little more of a technical crowd here, so I wanted to make sure that I cover this, because again, I usually don't cover this. This is usually like, digital tracking black magic that I do like one-on-one with clients, because it can be very heavy. If you're not used to doing this kind of stuff, it can be quite it can be overwhelming. I'll be totally candid. But sometimes, what's if your conversion tracking doesn't work, right? I got a couple of troubleshooting steps in the order that you should go through them. So first thing you want to do is just, hey, is Tag Manager on the associated pages or pages that you need, right? So like, maybe it's on the blog, but I forgot to put it on the thank you page of my CRM's thank you page, right? That's a real easy way to, that's a real easy fix. You got to remember to have the Tag Manager code on every single page in the flow. Next thing you want to check is debugging enabled on all of those associated pages. By default, Google isn't just going to assume that debugging is enabled. So you may have to say, okay, yeah, enable it for this domain, enable it for this page. And then you can actually look at that data. And then you can start looking at, okay, well, if we have the code there, we're debugging it, we're getting the data, but it's still not coming in here. Okay, well, is the trigger configured properly? As you go through the steps, am I seeing it? We were using a page view trigger in this example. There is also a form submission trigger that I actually prefer to use that because it's a little bit more accurate, because it's actually looking for a form, HTML form being submitted on the page, and then you can say, okay, if the form of this like class ID is submitted, then we know that that's the trigger here. And so you may need to debug that a couple of times, and using that tag assistant, you'll be able to see all the data, all the logs of, why did it work, why didn't it work. And sometimes you have to mess around with it a little bit. And if the trigger is going correctly, but the tag for some reason isn't going, or it's not sending over the right data, you want to make sure that that's configured properly. Are you missing any of the required parameters? Are any of the parameters incorrectly configured? So like, for example, when you're sending over a purchase event to Google Analytics, you have to send over the product information as an array. And you can put it in array style in the parameters in Tag Manager, but if you're not sending it over as a properly formatted array, it's not going to report the data correctly in analytics here. And so again, you're going to be really, really intimate with the pixel documentation, all that kind of stuff. So okay, now we've got to the end. Here's your reward. It's special gift time. First of all, you can get the copy of the slides. I'm also going to give you 2 bonus scripts you can use for Google Tag Manager. The first one, it allows you to change the color of your mobile address bar. So for example, if you go to bpro.events, you'll see that it's blue, which, and it's our brand of blue. That's a very simple script that we inject using Google Tag Manager. The next is a script of how to change the tab's title if it's not in focus. So if somebody has the tab open and then they go to some other thing, it'll flash a particular message. And by default, it says, where did you go? You can change that to be whatever you want here. And those are 2 very easy to use scripts. Just pop it into a custom HTML, have it fire on all pages. Obviously, for the color branding, make sure you change the hex keys. And when you go to the landing page and you get my email delivering this, I give you more instructions on how to use this. But it's pretty straightforward. Oh, and also, I don't know why I couldn't get it figured out, but if you go to bpro events /Kadence24 on mobile, the form is like right justified and it's kind of small. So I apologize for that. I know that's a thing. I don't know why it does that. Perhaps if you're watching this replay in the future, it's not like that anymore. But anyway, that is that. That's all I've got. And it looks like we got just under 10 minutes for some Q&A, which hopefully there is some Q&A, because this is a lot, especially if you're brand new. So anyway, Hannah, how is this for you? Is smoke coming out of your ears?
It is, but it was amazing. I'm so glad that we're going to have replays of all of this, and we're actually going to break everything down so you'll be able to access each session individually. Ooh. And I'm so glad because we'll be able to just share this with everybody creating a website, because this is invaluable content that really is not talked about enough. And it's so clear that you have such education here and so much knowledge. So we really, really appreciate you taking the time today to share with us. But yeah, a couple questions. One from Steven. He said, do you have tips on getting access to GTM/analytics to do this for clients on their behalf?
Yes, absolutely. So that's a great question. How do you get access proper? What you don't want to do is like get their login. That is not the correct proper way to do it. The correct proper way to do it is to actually use the the user management kind of stuff. So I'll show you how to do it in both ways. So let's go ahead and, so now I'm actually live. You can see my tag manager now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So when you're here in Tag Manager, if you go up to the admin section, there's the user management section, and you can go ahead and add users. And and make sure that they add you with the ability with like publishing permissions. And then that way you can actually set it up and publish it here. What's cool is that you can get added to the account itself as a user, or you can just add a user just to the container itself if you want. And then when you get invited, standard, you'll get an email, you've been invited, and then at the very top of the home page of Tag Manager, there'll be, hey, you've got an invite, and then you just click to accept it. And then for Google Analytics, it's basically the same thing. Let me pull this up because actually we can get to Google Analytics right from here for the Google Marketing Platform. There it is. Here's Analytics. It's a very similar process for Google products. We would go to, no, please don't email me, thank you. Go to the admin section, and similarly there's the account access management, so you can add users to the account, or there's access to the specific property itself. I want to say that if you want to create conversion events, you have to be an admin of the property. I think that's something that that's one of those gotchas here. But that's how you would do it with with Tag Manager, with Analytics. Google Ads is similar. They can add you as a user to the Google Ads account. There is also the partner distinction as well. So you can create a Google Ads manager account, and then they can just add the manager, which is also the same way that you would do it with Facebook. You would want to make sure that you're not added as like a proper employee to the business. That's not pro. You would rather give them your business ID and have them invite you as a partner. So let me go ahead and show you where that happens. I'm gonna go ahead and get logged in on my other screen and just skip to exactly where we need to go, because sometimes it's very slow and distracting. It's not even loading for me.
Of course, because we're live.
Yeah, of course, because we're live. Yeah, this left menu isn't even loading for me.
It's okay.
Super funky. Oh, that's a pro tip. Don't ever do anything professionally on Facebook on a Friday. That's usually when they push code changes out. I can't tell you, not so much anymore, but like years ago, I would like load ads on Friday for the weekend, and I can't tell you how many times like just a button wouldn't work, or like this thing wouldn't load, and then you come in on Monday and it's business as usual, like nothing happened. Like it's a pain in the butt. Here, what if I go to business.facebook.com/settings? Is this gonna do it? Maybe. Anyway, while I'm trying to do this, here, I'll do this on my other screen to not be so distracting. What else? What other questions? This might not even load.
Oh yeah, so we've just got one more question.
Right.
A couple more minutes. This one's from P Designs Creative Media. He said, "Would you recommend the SiteKit plugin, or since GA, GSE, and GTM had already been set up, to just add the scripts into a WP site instead?"
It's a great question. So if you already have something that's doing Tag Manager, you already have something that is injecting the scripts, just use that. Might as well. But if it's like a fresh install, you might as well use SiteKit, because it does give you a dashboard of like the analytics and search console info right there, which is sometimes really handy to see in the back end of your site. But yeah, if you Facebook, it ain't it, fam. It's not loading the settings at all today. So I'm glad I don't have to load any ads later today. That would be quite frustrating here. But yeah, when we're here in Tag Manager, again, just click on the ID. You can, if you've already got something that's injecting scripts into the header, here's your header, and then here's the body or the footer. And you'll notice that the body, it's just a no script version of it. It's basically loading a 0 by 0 pixel with your tag ID in here, and then that hopefully it'll still be tracking stuff, even if there's like privacy blockers or things like that. So yeah, that's yeah. So yeah, if you're doing something else and not SiteKit, use that something else. That's totally fine.
Cool.
Yeah. So awesome questions though. Really good questions. Yeah. Definitely do not get root access from your clients. Have them give you proper access professionally, being added as a user or doing it through a partner. Which, yeah, I'd love to show you the Facebook version of it, but nothing's loaded today. So
yeah. It does look like there's a couple more questions in the chat. So Paul, if you want to hop over into YouTube after this and answer those questions in the chat, just so we can stay on schedule.
Ooh, yeah. Can you put the link for, actually, you might have shared that already.
I can send it to you right now.
Yeah, if you can send it to me right now. And yeah, I'll go hang out in the chat and I'll answer a couple of more questions. Thank you everybody for hanging out with me. Definitely make sure you go to bpro.event/cadence24, get the slides, get those bonus scripts. And I'm going to go ahead and answer those couple questions in the chat. Thank you so much, Anna. This has been
Paul,
great.
Thanks for your time. Really appreciate you.
Yes, I appreciate you.